Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm joined by Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Secretary of Public Safety and Security Gina Kwan, MEMA Director Don Brantley, Colonel Noble, Sergeant Dede, Trooper Lane, and members of the State Police, Secretary Tepper of Energy and Environmental Affairs, DCR Deputy Commissioner Rob King, MBTA GM and Acting Transportation Secretary Phil Lang, Undersecretary and Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver, Mass DOT CEO Ryan Caholen, Secretary Augustus of Housing and Livable Communities, Brian Ritzinger of the Department of Public Utilities. Look, we're here today to talk about freezing temperatures, which are going to be really, really bad tonight and continuing through the weekend, and also a storm, or snowstorm. We haven't had one of these like this year, so it is a big deal for the state. We wanted to be here today to tell you a little bit more about it and what our asks are of you. We're taking this storm very seriously. I have activated the State Emergency Operations Center and directed all relevant agencies to deploy resources. Our state teams have been making preparations since this forecast first emerged. We're coordinating state agencies, working with partners, municipalities, utilities to be ready and to support our residents. Mass DOT is pre-positioning equipment and supplies. Public safety teams are ready. Here's what we expect to see. Starting tonight through tomorrow, we should see temperatures in the single digits and low teens. We'll also see wind chills in the low single digits. So the risk of frostbite is great if you're outside for any amount of time. On Sunday, we expect to see the snow start in the morning. It's going to move south to north across the state, continuing through Monday. We estimate total snowfall to be between 12 inches and 2 feet. So 1 to 2 feet of snow across the state. Here's what I'm doing right now. I'm declaring Monday a remote work day for non-essential state employees. I encourage employers in the private sector to think about doing the same. Here's what I'm asking of the public. First of all, if you can do it, stay indoors this weekend. It's just going to be way too cold. If you do have to go outdoors, please dress warmly in layers. Don't have exposed skin. I want you to make sure today that you're thinking about what you might need for the weekend through Monday. We don't want to see power outages, but it's important that people prepare for power outages. Get what you need right now. I have spoken with all of the utility companies and their heads, and they've assured me that they already have pre-positioned their assets and will have available the trucks and the teams ready to respond. I ask people, and this is really important too, please take safety precautions in your own home, okay? Be really careful about space heaters, which you may need, but be careful about space heaters, fireplaces, or wood-burning stoves during this time. We need these things, but also we don't want to see our firefighters and first responders tapped during this period, and we don't want to see people injured. So please be careful of that. Test your smoke and CO detectors now to make sure they're working. And bottom line, look out for one another, especially our elderly residents and neighbors. I just want to remind people that the winter shutoff moratorium is in effect. So your utilities, they cannot be shut off during this time. In the event of any safety emergency, please dial 911. On Sunday, when we start to see the snow come, I ask people to stay off the roads, okay? As best you can, please stay off the roads. And I will tell you to continue to tune in. We will continue to provide you information. I know you'll hear information from your locality, more information to come out as this evolves through the weekend, but I want you to know we're ready, we're prepared, we're all working together. We'll have tips and guidance online as well if you go to mass.gov/snow. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to MEMA Director Don Brantley. Director Brantley.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. I'm Don Brantley, Director of the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. So I want to provide an update on what we've been doing to prepare for the dangerous weather affecting the Commonwealth this weekend. This is a long duration storm We're looking at dangerous cold, then more than a day of snow with travel impacts and cold lingering behind it. We are focused on staying ahead of this, coordinating resources, sharing timely information, and supporting our local officials so that communities can respond quickly if conditions worsen. We are activating the State Emergency Operations Center at MEMA headquarters in Framingham to coordinate statewide response and information sharing. We are also activating all 3 of our regional emergency operations centers in Agawam, Tewksbury, and Franklin in order to maintain real-time communication and support to local emergency management and public safety partners across the Commonwealth. We're coordinating closely with the emergency support function partners, especially our energy sector and transportation partners. And we're maintaining continuous situational awareness through the weekend, monitoring forecasts, coordinating around road and weather impacts, and supporting our municipalities with resources and planning. MEMA regional staff have already been in contact with local emergency management directors, and that will of course continue throughout the storm. We work to identify needs, confirm their plans for things like warming centers, resource requests, and communications. And this weekend is really about planning ahead, limiting your risk, and staying informed, especially because these impacts will last through Monday. Stay warm and reduce your time outside. If you don't need to go outside, don't, especially overnight Friday into Saturday during those coldest periods. Check on older adults, neighbors who may need help, and anyone without reliable heat sources. For warming center options in your community, call Mass 211 or check with your local emergency management director. Test smoke and carbon monoxide alarms today, use space heaters safely, and I encourage you to continue to watch the forecast and plan and prepare now to stay safe through the weekend. With that, I'll turn this over to Secretary Ng.
Thank you, Director Brantley, and thank you, Governor. The MassDOT and the MBTA have been preparing for these types of events since well before the winter. And as you heard the Governor, this is probably our largest storm in several years. Not only will it be cold temperatures, it is of long duration, beginning Sunday into Monday, and that can vary. Having said that, both Undersecretary Gulliver and COO Ryan Caholen, they will talk more specifics about both MassDOT and the MBTA, but I do want to say a few things. With regards to the RMV, our contact and service centers and road tests will be closed as a result of the weather on Monday. With regards to if you have any travel, we do strongly recommend you avoid travel, only essential travel if you have to. And if you do, and if you encounter snowplows, please give them space. It's important not only for their safety, but for your safety. We strongly recommend that you avoid travel if you can. If you need to travel on the transit system, give yourself additional time, both whether you're on the roads or on the transit system. Hold on to the handrails, watch your steps. In all cases, it's important that you really try to avoid that travel. And the last piece, if for any reason you do have airlines, flight schedules, please check your airline schedules. That's important as well. We are going to continue monitoring the storm as the weather predictions come through, and there may be adjustments to what you'll hear from both Jonathan and Ryan. However, I've said that, everything is based on the current information. So with that, I just want to wish everyone to be very careful. As the Governor said, plan ahead and avoid outside activities if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary
Oh,
Gulliver.
Jonathan, go.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jonathan Gulliver. I'm the Undersecretary of Transportation and the State Highway Administrator. So as you've heard, MassDOT crews have been preparing for this for some time. We have our snow and ice team works around the entire year to make sure that we're ready for a storm just like this one. We have over 3,200 pieces of equipment ready to go for this storm. I expect that we're going to be deploying most of those at the height of this storm. This is a pretty big and intense storm with a long duration. Our salt supplies for both pre-treatment and for salt during the storm are in really good shape. Our salt sheds are full. We are ready to go. So we are, again, this is something that we train for. Our crews are ready, and we'll take whatever this storm is going to bring our way. Drivers should minimize travel. If you are going to be traveling, however, we ask that you slow down. that you watch what's around you. You certainly should be cautious around the plows and other snow and ice equipment that are on the roadway, and really keep a safe distance between yourself and anybody else on the road. And something that we like to remind drivers about, especially new drivers, if you're in one of these four-wheel drive SUVs, remember that the four-wheel drive only helps you go, it does not help you stop. And it's one of those things that we see every year, is that we see a lot of new drivers that get into trouble with those types of vehicles. So please use extra caution regardless of what you are driving. Again, we are encouraging remote work, especially on Monday. If travel is unavoidable, we should first clear snow from your cars completely before getting on the roadway. The loose snow and ice, not only is it the law, but it can cause damage to nearby vehicles and can impede you and get you in a crash. And we want everybody, first and foremost, to be safe. If you do need to be on the road, especially on Monday, we are advising that travel could be difficult at times. This is an intense storm and has a lot of wind associated with it. We expect a lot of drifting, especially in the early morning hours of Monday and into the morning commute. So we're really asking people to be cautious. A storm of this size, it takes us typically about 4 hours to clean up after the snow stops. So keep that in mind if you do need to be out and about on Monday. We are right now coordinating with our neighboring states on potential truck restrictions. I do expect that something will go into place sometime in the next 24 hours, so if you're a trucker, please watch your usual channels for any sort of advisories that may come out. And for the public, please continue to monitor the forecasts. This is a big storm, but things can change. You should consult 511, check your usual media sources, and really make sure that you're being safe out there. That's the number1 goal that we have for anybody that needs to venture out of their house during a storm like this, is that we want you to be safe. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to MBTA COO Ryan Caholen to talk about how the MBTA is preparing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Caholen. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the MBTA. So as we've heard a lot, this is a tale of two storms. One is focused on extreme cold weather. The other is focused on a significant amount of potential snowfall in the greater Boston area. The MBTA is fully staffed up, including our MBTA Transit Police, over this weekend and into the storm to make sure that folks in and around our stations get any assistance they may need, particularly those who are in need of assistance. Aside from MBTA Transit Police, our in-station personnel, we've augmented that throughout the storm event to make sure that folks can get any services, MBTA or otherwise, that they need. As far as MBTA services, on Sunday we anticipate operating a regular weekend Sunday schedule across all modes of MBTA transportation. On Monday, we expect to operate a regular weekday service for our light rail, heavy rail, and bus operations, as well as paratransit. Commuter rail on Monday, we anticipate operating a storm schedule, which is a reduced schedule focused on getting essential workers in and out of Boston and make sure that we have a full complement of equipment and crews available on the property to deliver the services as scheduled. We do anticipate on Monday that our bus routes will operate on storm routes, snow routes, which means small changes to their schedule. We urge all passengers to check mbta.com as well as to download the MBTA Go app for all the latest information on that. Also on Monday, we expect our ferry operations to reduce down to an hourly headway for our Hingham, Hull, Logan, and Boston services, and our Charlestown service will operate on a 30-minute headway. Again, as we've heard, this is a very in-flight storm. While we have a lot of information to make these decisions here today, the MBTA is ready to adapt to whatever conditions this weather event brings us to make sure we can deliver our passengers safely. Want to make sure we thank our staffs across all of state government, in particular the MBTA, who have worked all week and will continue to work through this event to get you where you need to go safely. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Governor Healy.
Thank you. Thanks very much, team. With that, we're happy to take any questions.
Governor, are you going to talk specifically about what the biggest concern for this storm is operationally, and then when is the EOC fired up?
Sure. And team, you can address some of that. Look, I think the concern here is that this is going to happen over the next few days. It's going to last for a while. It's going to be super cold tonight. We really worry about people being outside. So we ask people, please stay inside. And you have to, if you have to go out, please make sure that you're covered up. And then snow's going to come on Sunday. And there's going to be a lot of it, and it's going to snow for a good while. So I think, operationally, just making sure that things are covered. Again, a lot of this is about the public, okay? And that's why we want you to take us seriously when we say, please stay off the road as best you can. Make sure that you've got what you need right now so you don't have to go out for milk on Sunday. Look in and talk to your neighbors, make sure everybody's squared away. Check on things like your smoke detectors, and when you're operating, whether you're putting, logs on the fire, wood stove fireplace, or the space heater, just make sure you're careful. A lot of people are going to be out working really hard at the state level, at the local level. What we don't want to see happen are situations where, because of something that someone did, fire or police need to be on the scene. We want to keep the taxing of our resources to a minimum and focused on clearing the ways and making sure that people are safe. I'm going to let Director Brantley and Undersecretary Gulliver address your other two questions.
So the state and regional EOCs will be activating at 10 a.m. on Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Monday.
Thank you.
All right, and as far as the most challenging part with a storm like this, we would typically, if this was a smaller snowstorm, say this is a very manageable storm. We always prefer to get snow rather than ice. There's no real ice predicted in this. But because of the intensity and the amount of snow, that's what makes this one a little bit challenging for us. Whenever it's going to snow more than 2 inches an hour, road conditions will deteriorate. Doesn't matter how many plows we have out there. So at the peak of this storm, and that's right now overnight Sunday into Monday morning, that's when we expect the most intense snowfall to be coming through. And right now we're expecting various bands, so it's hard to say exactly where those areas are supposed to be. That I expect that forecast will tighten up over the next 24 hours. But that's the part that's most challenging for us. And really, our number one tool in the toolbox right now is communication, getting the message out there with you folks today, making sure that people know to stay off the road during those most intense periods because conditions will be tough.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I add one thing to this, Governor? One thing, kind of following up on what Jonathan just said, if you look out the window and it looks clear or the storm hasn't started yet, please be mindful that if you make it to your destination, you have to make it back from your destination as well. You really should look ahead and not just let that initial view. You should take a look at all the routes to make sure if you're driving to a location or if you're taking multiple modes on the trains, just to kind of double check, because we still recommend if you do not have to travel, you should not travel. And that's really strongly advised. And Monday morning as well, it may look clear right away, as Jonathan mentioned. It takes several hours, up to 4 hours, maybe more, depending upon the storm, for us to really clear the roads and make our system safe for everyone. So just really be mindful of that. Don't let the view out your window fool you if perhaps it doesn't look like it has started yet. So, thank you.
Good point. Okay, anything else?
To the cold, are you worried that people won't turn their heat up as high as it maybe should be and wind up with frozen pipes just because it's so expensive to heat homes right now?
I know, and I talked about that last night, and just a reminder for folks, in February and March, you're going to see 25% off your electric bill and 10% off of your gas bill, okay? We're trying to get as much relief to people as possible. We know bills are high, okay? Look, I mean, common sense, right? All this is common sense. That's why we say, make sure you dress warmly, make sure you stay off the road, and obviously make sure that your house is heated if you're able to do that to the degree necessary to obviously keep pipes from freezing. Again, we don't want situations where others have to respond to situations. We want to keep everybody in place. I also want to say a shout out to all the workers, because we're going to have a bunch of people on the roads this weekend. They're going to be plowing, they're going to be salting, they're going to be doing what they need to do to keep the power on and flowing. So in advance, I just want to thank folks who are doing that work, who aren't going to be, at home like many of the rest of us cheering on the Patriots, okay? So that's another reason people should stay in place on Sunday. Load up and get what you need for the game now, and just, take it easy Sunday. But to the workers out there, I want to thank you in advance for the work you're going to do over the next 4 days.
And this is a pretty big operation. I mean, you've activated all the agencies. Has this been a challenge with so many federal cuts, and how are you guys dealing with this?
Look, this is what we do, okay? And, I want people in Massachusetts to take pride in and comfort in the fact that you've got people in government at the state level, across the board, and at the local level who know how to partner, who know how to work, who show up every day to keep our residents safe, you know, and to deal with situations like this. So I'm really confident in the team. We'll do what we need to do. It's not our first snow, but it is our biggest snow that we've seen in a little bit. So we want people to take it seriously.
Governor, you mentioned some of the workers that are going to be on the ground. We've seen reports of staffing shortages when it comes to snowplow drivers. Is the state doing anything to address some of those shortages?
Yeah, you know, look, we try to work across our agencies and certainly with the municipalities to make sure that they have the assets, the resources, the drivers that they need. We continue to do that and support that. And I know they'll be showing up and working hard to help get us through this storm.
Just quickly,
Okay.
for the MBTA guys, as it again pertains to the cold, will you guys be out there? Like, I know that they like kind of light the tracks on fire. Should we expect seeing some of that stuff to keep the
Excuse me?
trains running?
What?
Not the
What do you
train,
do?
the tracks.
We never told you about that?
Yeah, we don't like trains on fire anymore in this administration.
So what you just described is a way that we would repair a broken rail. Steel, like any other, you know, metallic material, when it gets cold, it contracts. Often to make those repairs, we have to use we call it a magic rope. But we deploy that, we light it on fire, it heats the rail back up to get it where it needs to be, and then we reapply joint bars.
Are you worried that could be a possibility just with this cold?
Well, I think it's something that we focus on every winter, particularly when we see a lot of temperature fluctuations. But the work that's gone on into the infrastructure over the last 2 years, the infrastructure is holding really solid. We've had a great winter as far as delivering service, but we always are ready to respond if need be. In particular, throughout this event, even during non-revenue hours, we're exercising equipment, we're running trains. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, and that's what we intend to be.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe this weekend and go Pats. Okay, great.
I'll tell you.